All right, today we are diving into the absolutely incredible life of a legendary figure from India's history. We're talking about a poet who, despite being physically blind, saw a divine world with a kind of clarity that, well, most of us can only dream of. His name was Surdas, and his story, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about what it means to truly see. And that's the big question, isn't it? It's the central paradox of his entire life. How could someone who never once saw a sunrise, who lived in physical darkness, create poetry so visually rich, so full of color and light, that it has captivated people for centuries? So let's unpack that. To really understand the brilliance of his inner vision, we've got to start at the beginning. We need to explore the world he was born into, a world of, yes, physical darkness, but also one of profound personal sorrow. So Surdas was born in the Braj region of India, the very heartland where all the stories of Krishna come from. But for him, it was a world without color, without form. And you have to imagine, that reality shaped his entire youth, leading him to renounce the world in this deep, profound search for something more than what his eyes couldn't give him. He didn't just sit back and accept his fate. Not at all. He turned inward. He actually left home with pretty much nothing but his one-string instrument, the iktara, and started composing songs. These first pieces were super personal, just filled with a sense of humility and his own sorrowful search for the divine. But even then, people said he had this kind of prophetic intuition. It was a hint, really, of the much deeper sight he was destined to find. But that path of personal sorrow, it was about to take a massive, dramatic turn. A single conversation, one encounter with a spiritual guide, was about to change the entire course of his life and his art. Okay, so picture this. Surdas is living this solitary life at a place called Gugat God by the river, just singing his humble songs. When he has this fateful meeting, he runs into the great saint and philosopher, Sri Vallabhacharya. And this one encounter would completely reorient his entire spiritual compass. This advice, wow, it was the key that unlocked everything for him. Vallabhacharya saw his incredible talent, but he challenged him. He said, shift your focus, stop looking at your own personal longing, and look at the huge, joyous life of Lord Krishna. It was a call to look beyond himself and see something infinitely greater. And the transformation was, it was total. You can see it right here. He went from singing about his own sorrow to celebrating divine joy. His path of simple humility became what's known as the Pushti Marg, a spiritual path that says divine grace is just freely given. You don't have to earn it. And his yearning for some distant god, that turned into a complete, joyful immersion in Krishna's world. His whole perspective was just revolutionized. So, with his guru's guidance, Surdas didn't just change what he was singing about. His inner vision burst wide open. He started to see a world that was more real and vibrant than anything physical sight could ever offer. After getting that direction from his guru, Surdas channeled every ounce of his creative energy into describing the Bal Leela, the enchanting, magical childhood of Lord Krishna. And it was like a dam had broken. An absolute ocean of divine poetry just started to flow right through him. He became the absolute master of this concept called Vatsalya Rasa. Now, this isn't just love. It's this very specific, overwhelming, pure affection a parent feels for their child. Surdas used this feeling to describe the relationship between Krishna and his mother, Yashoda, with an emotional depth that, honestly, no poet has ever topped. Okay, seriously, stop and think about this for a second. A man who had never seen a smile described Krishna's mischievous grin perfectly. A man who had never seen a hand described the exact way a child's tiny fingers reach for butter. He somehow captured the loving exasperation on a mother's face, the intricate details of a peacock feather in a crown. This wasn't just imagination. His followers believed it was a direct, divine vision he was being given. And this explosion of creativity, it wasn't just some fleeting phase. No way. This became his life's work, and it all came together in a literary and spiritual monument that has stood the test of time for centuries. He compiled all these incredible compositions into his greatest work, the Sur Sagar, and that literally translates to the Ocean of Sur. And it really is an ocean, a vast, deep collection of devotion, emotion, and just unparalleled poetic beauty. The sheer scale of what he created is just staggering. Now, a lot of verses have probably been lost over time, but the thousands that are still with us have immortalized the Braj Bhasha language, making it this perfect vessel for some of the most profound spiritual expression in all of Indian history. Now, it's really important to see him not just as one guy, but as this towering figure in what's known as the Bhakti movement, this massive wave of devotional passion that swept across India. His work wasn't created in a vacuum. He became a central voice, influencing countless others, and really shaping the course of devotional art and literature for generations to come. So, what can the life of a 15th century blind poet teach us today, right now? Well, his journey offers a timeless and profound vision that we can absolutely apply to our own lives. It really boils down to three key lessons. First, Surdas proves that our greatest limitations can actually become our greatest strengths. His blindness forced him to develop a deeper, more profound inner sight. Second, the focus of our devotion is everything. By shifting from his own sorrow to a greater joy, he unlocked an ocean of creativity. And finally, he shows us that our work, whatever it is we do, can be a form of worship, a direct conversation with the divine. And that brings us right back to the central question, doesn't it? The story of Surdas really compels us to look inward. If we quiet the noise from our physical eyes, quiet the outside world for just a moment, what truths, what beauty, is our own inner vision just waiting to show us?